Yo, YouTube, what's good? It's been a while since I made a video, but I think with the state of things, it's probably important to at least talk about something. Hope everybody enjoying their summer, June, late June, and it's an interesting topic of discussion. A lot of crazy things been happening this year in 2021. I know everybody was talking about the Chauvin case. I'll probably talk about that. But I kind of want to talk about another issue that's been a topic of controversy for the past year now, and that's critical race theory, CRT. Top kind of thing that, a lot of people have been talking about, and everybody has their stance on it, critical race theory. I mean, I don't think it really matters what your stance is on, as long as you have a good logical sense and are able to just explain your reasoning. I really don't care what people's opinion is on the topic. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But I think the thing that interests me the most about critical race theory is just the fact that why is it so controversial? Throughout, the years, I mean, it's always that one thing that people can't seem to figure out or come to a middle ground on. People, one of those things that, that nobody can ever seem to come to a stance on is politics and things like in theories. I think critical race theory is one of those. But what is critical race theory? And why is it just so controversial? I think that's just a question that probably everybody's wondering. Well, first of all, I mean, I've looked into it a little bit, and one thing that I do know is that I think the main problem with critical race theory is not critical race theory in itself. I think it is people's beliefs on it. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions and a lot of wide beliefs about it. And I mean, I think it really just depends on the person and their own agenda to whether it's good or not. I mean, if you're the kind of person who thinks that critical race theory is positive due to the fact that, you want people to know the history of this country, you want people to know the history and the facts, and you want everyone to just understand the cause and effects relationships between what happened then and now, and how that's affect minorities. I mean, I guess you got a point in your logic of how critical race theory is a good thing. And it's also understandable to look into the fact that you have people who reject it because they think that it's spreading an anti-white narrative, or just a narrative that's just totally skewed in imperfections. Like, for example, how you have some people who don't want to feel uncomfortable or feel like they're oppressors. When you talk to some Caucasian people about it. I mean, there's just a wide variety of beliefs and opinions on this topic. And I mean, everybody's opinion that I've heard so far makes sense. I mean, really, when it comes to critical race theory, it just depends on what your logic is and your reasoning behind what you're talking about. I mean, like I said, I'm not really for or against critical race theory. I think there are some truths to it, but just like every theory that's ever been created, there are some fallacies I mean, you got to talk about the problems as well. But I mean, I don't think it should be all right rejected. But you know, you do have some people who are so anti CRT that they don't want any of it to be taught, any of it to be brought up in schools, any of it to just exist. But I just think it's just depends on a person's perspective, and I think just like any theory, you have to treat it like a theory. That's simply what it is. There's truths to it. There are fallacies to it as well. I mean, it's complex, man. It's not a black and white. It's not one statement. I mean, there's a lot of things that go with critical race theory. A lot of things, when you talk about the general scope of it, is enormous. And there are some things that you can agree with when it comes to critical race theory, and there's some things that you probably don't agree with. And that's kind of how it goes, man, with theories. I think, when you talk about, the evolutionary theory, there's always been controversy with that too. When it talks about evolution and scientific evolution, I mean, natural selection, human evolution, all this type of stuff that we get into, and people start arguing and complaining. Like I said, the truth is, I mean, it's a theory. I said you don't have to agree. You can agree to disagree, disagree to agree. You can form your own opinions, but the truth is with a theory and with critical race theory, is that we always know that there are some truths to it, and you should look into those truths and understand that. But understand there's also fallacies behind it, and it's not black and white. It's a two-inch sword, man. And people have their own opinions, but I mean, I think it's safe to form your own opinion and go from there. I'll holler at y'all later.